Hackers don't need much. Just one leaked password can potentially unlock a treasure trove of personal information, leading to stress, pain, and permanently wrecked credit. Don't be an easy target. Get protection by Aura today. Aura protects your identity, finances, and family, all in one powerful app. Get real-time alerts, safeguard your accounts, and block scams before they happen. If identity theft strikes, we help you recover. Stay protected at aura.com/listen. That's AURA.com/listen.
You're standing in the middle of a redwood forest, so dense and ancient it makes you feel like you've trespassed into Jurassic Park. But instead of dinosaurs, it's CEOs and ex-presidents wandering around in linen slacks. The air smells like pine needles, privilege, and probably cigars that cost you more than your first car. Suddenly, a procession begins. Men in robes, yes, actual robes, like dollar store druids with corporate 401ks, silently shuffle towards a stage that's been built next to a murky pond. At center stage, a 40-foot-tall concrete owl. Because nothing says we definitely don't have a god complex, like building a giant bird shrine to watch over your bonfire. Then comes the big moment. A small, human-shaped effigy is placed into something that looks disturbingly like a coffin. There's chanting. There's fire. There's a choir. The owl watches silently, which, is expected because it's made of cement. The effigy bursts into flames, and the crowd, they cheer. This isn't the opening scene of a horror movie, it's the kickoff to summer vacation for the richest and most powerful men in America. And no, you're not dreaming. You haven't taken mushrooms, I don't think. You've just arrived at Bohemian Grove. So here's the question that starts to buzz in your brain like a mosquito. What happens when the people who run the world take a break from running the world and go camping together? Not regular camping, of course. No tents, no firewood, no fighting over hot dogs. This is luxury camping. Caviar under redwoods and billionaires peeing on trees like it's a sacred right. This is Bohemian Grove, where power wears cargo shorts. A place where presidents and oil tycoons toast marshmallows and swap secrets. No cameras, no press, no accountability. Just very important men pretending they're not making very important decisions. The club's motto is, "Weaving spiders, come not here," which is basically old-timey Shakespearean code for, don't talk business, bro. But when you pack a forest full of people who only talk business, what exactly do they talk about? Nature? The jazz flutes, how to dodge taxes and still get a street named after you? It's that intersection of power and privacy, very rich, very secretive, very male, that makes people squirm. Because when billionaires and politicians vanish into the trees for weeks every summer and they come back smiling, we kind of want to know what the hell's going on out there. And that's where the conspiracy theories start to bloom. To understand this secret forest frat party, you gotta kind of rewind a little bit, back to the 1800s, where the Bohemian Club started in San Francisco. It began as a messy, artistic crew. Writers, actors, big drinkers, probably crying into pianos. Then the rich guys showed up, crashed the party. Industrialists and politicians bought their way in, and the Bohemian spirit got steamrolled by money. Today, it's an elite summer camp for men who run the world. The artists are still there, but now they're mostly putting on plays for the CEOs. And once a year, those suits disappear into Bohemian Grove, a 2,700-acre patch of redwood forest in Northern California, like some sort of VIP nature cult. They break into camps with names like Mandalay, Owl's Nest, and Hillbillies. Because apparently branding is still very important when you're in the woods. And this isn't just theoretical power. These are actual presidents, cabinet members, oil executives, defense contractors, and billionaires, all breathing the same fresh, pine-scented air. Let me name drop a little bit for you. Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon were here. Herbert Hoover basically never left. George H.W. Bush was a regular, And one summer in the 1960s, Nixon gave a speech by the lake that just so happened to mark the beginning of his comeback tour, right before he became president. Totally casual summer camp, right? Oh, and let's not forget the Manhattan Project. That's right, the plans for the atomic bomb were first floated at Bohemian Grove in 1942. Nothing like light weapons of mass destruction talk between campfire sing-alongs and toasted s'mores. So no, this isn't just rich guys goofing off in the woods, like they want you to believe. This is history-shaping, globe-altering networking disguised as summer fun. And it's all behind a giant "No Girls Allowed" sign. So what actually goes on at Bohemian Grove? Thank you for asking. I'd love to tell you. Well, that depends on who you ask, actually. If you ask a member, they'll tell you it's just good old-fashioned male bonding in the forest. You know, some Shakespeare, some jazz, some heavy drinking, and the occasional guy in a toga pretending to be a tree. Nothing weird. Just dudes being dudes. In robes. Chanting around a 40-foot concrete owl. Totally normal. That owl, by the way, I've mentioned it a couple of times, it's named the Owl of Bohemia, and it's basically the camp's mascot/giant stone godfather. Every summer, the members gather in front of it for the cremation of care, a big theatrical ritual where they burn a coffin with a fake person inside, symbolizing the death of their worldly worries, which is kind of cute if you ignore how culty it looks. And then there are the Lakeside Talks, a daily event where members give off the record speeches about whatever's on their mind, be it war, economics, space weapons, the occasional light genocide. These are definitely not policy meetings, according to the club. They're just super confidential lectures delivered by the people who literally write policy. The club's motto is "Weaving spiders come not here," which sounds poetic until you realize it means don't do business here. Please just drink your scotch and watch the skit. But somehow, despite that motto, this place has hosted some, let's say, interesting brainstorms. Like that time in 1942 when J. Robert Oppenheimer and a few military buddies just happened to talk about a bomb they were building that could melt a city. Or when Edgar Teller allegedly floated his Star Wars missile defense idea to a bunch of insiders over wine spritzers. Or when Nixon used his Lakeside Talk to test run the foreign policy that helped him land the White House. But sure, no shop talk. Look, maybe the owl just gives really inspiring pep talks. Or maybe, when the most powerful people in the country gather in the woods with zero oversight, some important decisions accidentally get made. You know, whoops. Eventually, when more and more people found out about this, they got really, really suspicious. And rightly so. Some of those curious and possibly unhinged people decided to see for themselves what was going on. Without an invitation, of course. In 1989, journalist Philip Weiss snuck in by posing as a guest. What he found looked like a billionaire frat party. CEOs peeing on trees, men in drag doing old-school skits, and a constant cloud of cigar smoke. It was absurd, but also important, because as Weiss put it, the clowns running the show, they're also running the world. Then, in 2000, Alex Jones broke in with a hidden camera and filmed the cremation of care ceremony. Robes, fire, chanting, a burning effigy. He called it a satanic ritual run by the global elite. Because if you know Alex Jones, of course he did. The footage exploded. Suddenly, Bohemian Grove wasn't just a rumor. It was real, weird, and full of very powerful men doing very theatrical things in the woods. And while the internet spiraled, local activist Mary Moore stayed focused. She's been protesting the Grove for years, not because of the owl or the fire, but because she believes actual policy is being shaped in secret. Less Satan, more secrecy. And honestly, that part is way scarier, because I think she really has a point there. As ridiculous as the Grove can look on the outside, like a LARP for CEOs, it's also a place where real power gathers. And whether they're laughing at a guy in a toga or casually spitballing the next decade of foreign policy, people have started to wonder, is it just a rich guy cosplay or something more? And here's where things get a little bit sticky. Because sure, it's easy to laugh at the theatrical weirdness, the robes, the giant owl, the fake corpse going up in flames, but behind the cosplay and campfire songs, some real-world consequences have oozed out of these redwoods. People that, for the most part, have been elected by ordinary citizens like you and I, that are supposed to be held to a higher standard with transparency, are conducting business out of public eye. And with who, we're not always exactly sure. So that doesn't seem exactly transparent and on the up and up. But then there's the less controversial, less conspiratorial, more lawsuity stuff. The club's No Girls Allowed rule held strong until the state of California sued them in the 80s, not for the boys-only membership, that's still very much a thing, but because they refused to even hire women. The court eventually told them to knock it off, but the Grove's vibe today is still aggressively old school. White, male, rich, and allergic to change. More recently, their own workers, the valets who fetch drinks and fold linens for the VIPs, filed a lawsuit saying they were treated like overworked butlers in a Wes Anderson movie, minus the quirky soundtrack. Long hours, no breaks, no overtime. But hey, at least they got to witness Harry Kissinger eating a croissant in the woods, right? So there are perks. Whether it's sketchy labor conditions, exclusive power networking, or ultra-rich men reenacting a human sacrifice next to a concrete owl, it's safe to say what happens in the Grove doesn't always stay in the Grove. Once the fire's out, the whiskey's gone, and the robes are packed away, these men return to their day jobs, running banks, countries, and media empires, casual stuff like that. But they don't come back empty-handed. They come back with new connections, quiet alliances, and inside jokes that probably double as insider stock tips. And because we'll never be in the room, or forest in this case, we don't know what exactly is being said, promised, or planned. We just get to watch the ripple effects, months or years later, and wonder if they started that deal with the handshake near the owl shrine. The Grove has become its own myth. Pop culture eats it up. Shows like House of Cards and True Detective have both created thinly veiled versions of it, swapping the owl for something equally creepy. So what do we do with all of this? Well, probably nothing, because Bohemian Grove isn't going anywhere. It's been running for over 150 years and shows no signs of stopping. Every July, the redwoods whisper, the effigy burns, and the world's most powerful men laugh loudly at jokes that you'll never hear. Just because we can't kick down the gates doesn't mean we shouldn't care, because behind all the weird theater and secret handshakes, there's the bigger issue, real influence with zero transparency. No, it's not a satanic cult. No one's summoning demons, but decisions are being shaped in places we're never invited to, by people who already have all the access and all the money. Thanks for listening to this episode of 10 Minute Mystery. If you liked what you heard, please be sure to hit subscribe and leave a review. It helps other curious minds find the show. And if you're craving more stories, but with a darker twist, check out my other podcast, 10 Minute Murder. See you next time.